All right, let's talk guitars. Acoustic versus electric. What's actually the difference? Today, we're going to break down the science, the style, and everything in between. I mean, how can one guitar be perfect for a quiet bedroom while another can literally fill a whole stadium with sound? Well, it all comes down to two totally different ways of making noise, and we're going to get right into how it all works. All right, first up, the heart of the sound. Let's start with the most basic question of all. Where does the sound even come from in the first place? Okay, this is the big one. Think of it like this. An acoustic instrument is all natural. It uses wood and air to make itself louder. An electric instrument, that's all about technology. It captures that same string vibration, but turns it into an electrical signal using sensors. This one idea is the key to everything else we're going to talk about. Yeah, exactly. For an acoustic guitar, that hollow body is everything. Seriously. Without it, the strings would just make this tiny little plink sound that you could barely even hear. The body is basically its own built-in natural speaker. So there's a technical name for this hollow space. It's called a resonance chamber. It works like a chain reaction. The string vibrates, that makes the wood vibrate, and that makes all the air trapped inside vibrate too. All those vibrations working together, that's what creates the big, warm sound of an acoustic instrument. Okay, section 2, form follows function. Let's see how this huge difference in making sound completely changes how these instruments are actually built. So you can see why they look so different, right? The acoustic's body has to be hollow, light, and even a bit fragile because it needs to vibrate to make sound. But the electric body, it doesn't need to do that at all. It's usually a solid, heavy, and tough block of wood. Its only job is to hold all the electronics and, look awesome. And check this out. A solid body electric guitar is usually only about 1.75 inches thick. That is way thinner than a big acoustic guitar. And the only reason it can be so slim is because it doesn't need that big empty box to create sound. The electronics are doing all the heavy lifting. All right, let's move on to the electric brain. We're talking strings, magnets, and power. How does an electric instrument actually hear the strings you're playing? Let's dive in. This is super important. You can't just swap strings between an acoustic and an electric. Acoustic strings are usually made from bronze or brass, which aren't magnetic. Electric strings, on the other hand, have to be made of something magnetic, like nickel or steel. Why? Because the sensors that hear the strings are basically little magnets. No magnetism, no sound. Simple as that. And it's not just what they're made of, it's how thick they are. We're talking about tiny fractions of an inch here. But trust me, it makes a huge difference in how the guitar feels to play. The thicker acoustic strings give you that big, booming sound, but they're harder to press down. Electric strings are thinner, making them way easier to bend, which is a huge part of that classic rock guitar sound. Okay, so I keep saying sensors. The real name for them is pickups, and honestly, the best way to think of them is as tiny microphones that are designed to listen only to the strings. They are the absolute heart of an electric instrument. Without pickups, a solid-body electric guitar would be almost completely silent. So how do they work? It's actually a pretty cool bit of physics. First, you pluck a magnetic string, and it starts vibrating. That vibration messes with the magnetic field coming from the pickup. And that disturbance creates a tiny little electrical current. And here's the magic part. That current is a perfect copy of the sound wave. It's a little electrical echo of your note, ready to be sent to an amplifier. Okay, next section, the musician's toolkit. We've got natural sound versus electronic sound. So what does that really mean for the person who's actually playing? Let's break it down. Well, the first and most obvious thing is volume. With an acoustic, how loud you are depends on how hard you strum. That's it. But with an electric, the sky is the limit. Thanks to amplifiers, you can go from a little 15-watt amp that's perfect for your bedroom all the way up to a 100-plus watt monster that can blast sound across a massive stadium. And then there's the tone, the actual character of the sounds. An acoustic's tone is kind of baked in. It's all about the type of wood and the shape of the body. An electric, though, it's like a blank canvas. You can use effects pedals to make it sound clean and clear, or super fuzzy and distorted, or make it echo. You can create literally any sound you can dream up. What about taking it with you? Well, here's a big trade-off. An acoustic is the ultimate grab-and-go instrument. You can play it on the beach, at a campfire, anywhere. An electric is more of a system. You can't just grab the guitar. You need the amplifier, you need the cables, and you need a power outlet just to be heard. And yeah, let's not forget about weight. An acoustic is mostly empty space, so it's pretty light. But a solid body electric usually weighs somewhere between 7 and 10 pounds. That's a lot of dense wood and metal hardware. You will definitely feel that on your shoulder after playing for a while.
Okay, last section, choosing your instrument. Let's wrap this up by looking at what this all means for you if you're just starting out on your musical journey.
So, the big question, which one is easier to learn? Honestly, there's no single right answer. An acoustic is simpler to get started with. You don't need any extra gear. But the strings are tougher and can hurt your fingers at first. On the other hand, electric strings are often easier to press down. Plus, a huge advantage is that you can plug in headphones and practice silently. But let's be real, no matter which one you choose, they both take thousands of hours to truly master. Really, the best instrument for you is the one that makes the sound that you love. It all comes down to the music that gets you excited. Are you into the natural, warm sound of folk and acoustic pop? Or do you want that massive amplified power you hear in rock and metal? So here's the final thought. The sound you want to make, does it come from something natural, like wood and air, or does it come from technology, from wires and power? Thinking about that question, well, that's the real first step to finding your own voice.